Hello friends, it's Unicorn Princess here and welcome to our first dark mode episode. I'm super excited to get this started. It's going to be aesthetically different. We're going to have different themes. This, I'm going to say, will be in a more adult part of the channel, which will help me incorporate the more adult parts of my life. I will give you prior warning if we're going to talk about anything particularly deep or particularly saucy and you would like to avoid those things. Don't worry, I will let you know. And just another reminder that pink, cute, fluffy me is not going anywhere. See? Hi! She's right here. So disclaimer for this episode, we're likely to touch lightly on themes of manipulation and mental illness, maybe a sprinkle of abuse. I'm not going to go into any real detail, but I am going to talk around it. So if you're uncomfortable with that, just check out. Come to the next one. So today I figured we would talk about identity crisis, which feels particularly relevant because that's where all of this came from for me. What is an identity crisis? It's defined as a period of confusion and uncertainty about oneself, which is extremely vague, and you can have it at any point in your life, but it's quite common to happen like in your preteens and your adolescence, and for some people when they hit like 40s, 50s maybe, but you can have it any time. And in my case, I had it in my 30s, or at least I've had one in my 30s. I have always felt that I am a bit of a confusing personality because I present in some ways that would make people think that I'm a certain list of things. So when I'm pink and cute, people would expect, I think, that I would be shy and like demure and maybe uncomfortable about a whole bunch of things, but none of that is true, and that really throws some people off. Likewise, when I'm more like this, a lot of people assume that I don't like a lot of things and I can't appreciate a lot of things, and that's also not true. So yeah, a little bit confusing. But this is also very surface level. The aesthetic part of the identity crisis is very surface level because it's much more about what lies beneath that. Actually, just real quick, if you needed proof that I am an identity crisis wrapped neatly in a ball, I'm going to play you the first 5 songs in my Spotify just to demonstrate. Woo, let's get demonetized really fast.
Hey, what's your name? There's no need to be so special. Oh my god, what do you say, bitch? Thousand fever or the thrill of plunder. She was my woman.
Anyway, you get my point. But, you know, it's an illusion that people are one thing, and social media has kind of made it seem like everyone discovers themselves straight out of the womb. They know who they are, and they pick an aesthetic out of a book, throw it on, and that's them like for the rest of their lives, which is total garbage. We're literally never the same. Even the things about you that are similar for a long time are constantly evolving. So the idea that your identity is like a solid, fixed state is total crap. I feel like I have lots of friends that can identify with the identity crisis because you think you know who you are and what you want and what you like for a little while, maybe, and then you're like, actually maybe I don't want or like those things, and then yeah, whole security straight down the toilet. Who am I? My life is over. Very dramatic. When I was young, I really liked girly stuff. That was my thing. But when I got to high school, it was rough and I felt like I had to put all of that away so that I could be bullied less. It didn't work. I think I got bullied exactly the same amount actually. So it was irrelevant, but I did it, and I would tell people my favorite color is black and I only like metal music and I don't like toys. And it took me until I was well out of high school. I mean, I'm talking like probably 30. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, oh my god, my favorite color is pink. And I love Disney music and a cappella and like cute fantasy shit. And obviously, I've always loved toys. But I was so able to divide that in my brain that it's like, I didn't even know. I didn't know. And everybody laughs about that. There was actually a day specifically where I was like, guys, my favorite color is pink. And they were like, yeah, I know. So the divide in your brain for identity can be overpowering and it's extremely confusing. Just like everybody assumes that you're straight for some reason when you're born, and then when I got to like 14, 15 and I realized that I also liked girls, I was like, oh, okay, so I guess I'm bisexual, and that's fine. You know, my parents or whatever, they're totally cool with that. But the world is really weird about that. If you're a bisexual, you're greedy? What the fuck with that? And then when I got to the end of my 20s and the start of my 30s, I was like, oh, I feel like love and connection and stuff totally differently from the people around me. I can love multiple people at a time, like on a romantic level. I can totally separate physical affection from like romantic affection with ease. Like, it's just not the same thing for me at all. So I was like, oh fuck, I think I'm polyamorous. And we're not even going to talk about that because that's a whole other mess. We'll touch on that at another time. And then last year, when I turned 33 and we came back from Florida, it was just this combination of things where I got really depressed, and then a bunch of my health stuff started kicking off. Because personality issues have been a thing for me since I was young, because of like abuse and stuff, and teenager stuff. I have some issues that come from mental health things from childhood and my teen years that I have been working on for a long time, and sometimes when things happen I have a series of triggers that go off, and I hate that word, it's so overused, but on a technical term that is exactly what they are. And when they set off I can't control them, and they came back really strong last year. So I had a real difficulty being comfortable in my own skin and being happy and knowing what I wanted to do and where I wanted to be. It was really rough. And just to add on top of that, my hormonal spike just set everything into overdrive. And because when I was younger I was relatively uncomfortable with physical contact, I was not ready or prepared to suddenly be shot full of hormones that were like, yes, everybody touch me. So I think for most women in their 30s-ish, the hormonal fluctuation that happens usually brings on like a broody type feeling, like I need to have babies, because it's the body's way of saying, hey, we haven't had offspring yet and we should probably do that. But that didn't happen to me. Instead, it hit me with filth. Filth and smut, which I was not prepared for, and it absolutely destroyed my sense of self, because I have been relatively uncomfortable with physical contact for such a long time, and like kind of okay in recent years with like sexy things, like fine, like totally cool, but prior to the past like 7 or 8 years, uncomfortable and no thank you, mostly. So for this to happen and to have me suddenly be like, yes, all of the physical attention, all of the sexy things, sexy brain all the time, 24/7 sexy brain. I was entirely unprepared for that, and what made it particularly difficult is that all the parameters changed. All of the lines in the sand that I used to have are not the same anymore, and I didn't know what to do about that. So, for example, a lot of people have like moral absolutes, like murder is wrong. And I've always felt that the context is relevant there. So like, if I'm defending myself and I murder someone, is murder still wrong? If we're talking like in a country where euthanasia is legal and we've got someone who's very sick or very old or very in pain and they want to die, is that murder and is it wrong? The list goes on. So it's always been a bit of a grey area for me anyway. But that's even more the case now. And there's no rule book about how we should really behave and what is good and what is bad. So I was just kind of floating in a nothingness going, how do I continue to be a good person even though all of these barriers in my life have changed and moved? Like, who am I supposed to be? And how do I do that while honouring myself and respecting the people around me at the same time? That has been my biggest struggle. I have always been a people pleaser and I've always wanted to be liked, and that's been a struggle for me forever. So the idea that I can feel myself now, I couldn't do that before. There's a difference now. It's not just about making other people happy. There's a thing there that says, yeah, okay, but does that make me happy? Is that something I want to do? I genuinely didn't have that before. I've lived my life more or less in service of other people. And that satiated the people pleaser part of my brain, but I have neglected me for a very long time because of it. Now, the people around me, you know, my besties and Conan and everyone, never take advantage of that. They always make sure that I have. They always create space for me. They always tell me when I'm giving too much or going too far. And I'm extremely grateful for that because I didn't always have that either. I'd often been in places where people would absolutely take advantage of my consistent giving nature. So I've been looking a lot at this honor yourself while still respecting other people thing. And I suppose I've discovered two things. One is that all of it is perspective. You might think that you're respecting other people, and some people might think that you're not. And there's actually nothing you can do about that. You could try your whole life to be the best version of you for everyone else, and it would still not be enough, which is insane when I think about it. And the second thing is that there actually are no rules. There's not even cultural or moral rules that are absolutely set in stone. Different places in the world have different feelings about all of the things. So if you're sitting there thinking, is it right that I like girls, for example? Where's my moral check sheet? Where do I pick up the book that says, on a scale of 1 to 10, we're in the 5 area of okay for liking girls? It doesn't exist. It's not real. So when it gets into more complex things like, is it okay for me to be an extremely physical being now when I have not been for a very long time? There's no handbook. I really want to dress up in like a goth rave outfit and go clubbing until 4 AM when I have never wanted to do that before. Is that okay? Is that in step with my personality? So the answer is entirely up to you, which is not super helpful. What I've been doing is measuring the feeling. How much do I feel that I need this to be part of my life? How much relief does this bring me if it is present in my life? And then I measure how it might affect the people around me. And then it gets really complicated because sometimes things will affect the people around you and you still have to do them. Like, there are some places where telling your parents that you're never going to get married or you're never going to have kids would be devastating. The whole family would just like dissolve around that idea. So they're affected negatively. But it's also nothing to do with them because it's your life. So it's kind of a 3-step process for the identity thing. How much do I feel I need it? How much do I feel relief when I think about it? For me is like step 1. Step 2, how does it affect the people around me? Is it negatively and is it like too much? And then 3, just to double back on that, is it any of their business? Is it about their life or is it about my life? That's not easy. It has not been easy. So the bottom line, I guess, is acceptance. Acceptance that you are always changing. You are never the same person. Sometimes you will change in ways that people around you don't understand. And sometimes you'll change in ways that affect the people around you, and they might just have to deal with it. Now, that's not to say that we shouldn't be absolutely considerate. I think constantly about the people around me and how they're affected, and if I can avoid causing pain or damage or difficulty, I'm constantly checking with myself, and I will constantly check with other people as well, because you need to be checked sometimes. You might think you know absolutely everything about yourself, but as a person who's going to therapy now and has gone to therapy for a long time, you really don't. Identity crisis is rough. Talk to the people around you, check in with yourself, and it's okay to change. It's okay to be different. It's certainly okay to be many, many layers of a person, and it's not all on the surface. A lot of it goes deep, and it won't always seem like those things match, and that's not a bad thing. Okay, I think that's all I want to say. I hope I can trim this down to a nice digestible 10 minutes. Just a couple of things before you go. I have made a banner, hopefully to tie my more adult content together. I'm practicing with streaming equipment at the minute, so I am very hopeful that within March I will start doing streams. We can chat, we can game, it's going to be fun. I'm very excited about it. I'm also hopeful for a photo shoot maybe sometime in March for my cosplay stuff. I'm just waiting for it all to arrive. I am excited to get the spicy things on the go. It's going to be cute. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have some adult themes you would like to talk about, please put them in the comments. If there's anything I said in this video that particularly resonated with you, please let me know. I love to hear about it. And you give me lots of ideas, so please be the idea people. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye. Love.